This episode is brought to you by the Witty and Gritty 5-Minute Mini Journal. It's centered around Ephesians 6:10 through 18, known as the Armor of God. Once you download this freebie, over the next 7 days, take a few minutes each day and dive into what the Armor of God is and why it's important to Christians in their daily walk. You can find this at wittyandgritty.blog. We'll link it in the show notes.
Welcome to the Witty and Gritty podcast, where we believe that lifelong learning and relentless determination are essential to developing your passions and reaching your goals. Here to help you along the way are the hosts of the show. Take it away, ladies.
Hey y'all, I'm Brooke.
And I'm Farron.
As educators and high achievers, we're passionate about providing our listeners with effective strategies to help navigate life's obstacles and reach your goals sooner.
Join us as we break down credible research that gives you a fresh perspective and challenges your limiting beliefs.
Laugh and grow as we share personal anecdotes and interviews from people that have demonstrated what it takes to be successful.
By implementing these practices, you will develop your unique skill set and learn how to better serve your community.
Get your mind right.
And enjoy this time designed just for you.
Okay, I like the rhyming teamwork we did. You ready for this one?
It went so well the first time. Let's do it again.
Episode 146.
Those are some pretty sweet
Oh
kicks.
my God. What are you going to say?
Hey, get your mind out of the gutter.
It's not me.
'Cause every time we touch, I get this feeling.
Remember that one?
Yeah.
Cascada, right? Like one hit wonder. Anyway.
It's a good one. I love you. You love me.
Yeah.
Yeah. No remix this time.
Six of our love language mini-series, and this is the last love language we're going to talk about.
Yes, we made it through 5. So the first one, or 4, about to be 5, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead and count it. It's kind of like when you're counting days and you're like, I woke up and got ready.
Yep, counts.
Day's done. But yes, the first one was words of affirmation. Second one, quality time. Third one, gifts.
Gifts, that's right.
I almost forgot. And then the last one was acts of service. And today, the 5th and final one is physical touch.
Yeah, baby.
Man, he opens up with the research about babies who are held and hugged and kissed develop healthier emotional lives than those who are left without physical contact. Mm-hmm. And that makes me always feel better about, like, in the newborn phase, just letting them sleep on your chest and not doing anything when they're sleeping. You know, the advice, sleep when they sleep.
You can't.
No. I'm protecting their emotional life here, people.
Yes.
They're going to be much more emotionally healthier.
Farron, remind me, how did you score on this one?
Even.
Oh,
So
even for all of them except
9,
gifts.
7, 7, 7,
1.
and 0.
0, that's right. Oh my gosh. This one was tied for my first place. So 10 points to physical touch, 10 points to quality time.
I do think this was my first place one back in the day, pre-kids. Any other women, can y'all relate
You got
to
touched
like,
out. Touched
yeah,
out.
before kids, you wanted it, and then you have kids and they touch you all day, and so you're like, eh. No, I think like me and Jacob are a lot about the like small touches.
Yeah.
Like if I'm walking by, grab your butt, or
For sure.
you know, graze your arm, or play at the hair on the back of your head.
So, seeing how you and I both are fine with physical touch, how many points did you get? 7? Mm-hmm. Almost 10, right? So we're almost kind of the same.
Round it up, I passed.
We were at church this past Sunday. So, Farron, you go to the earlier service, and so we were crossing paths, but I went and I grabbed your butt on both cheeks, but then a random guy saw me do it, and his face, you had your back to him, but I saw it, and it was hilarious.
Yeah.
And I said, it was me, and you're like, I knew, I didn't even have to look.
I had no reaction. You know what my mom used to do? She used to go in the grocery stores and goose people.
Oh my
so
God,
that
like
she
strangers?
actually, no, people she actually knew, but she would like, and a goose is like you pinch their butt hard, like a goose is biting their butt.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, she finally had to stop. It took a few more times than
Just
it
all
should have.
Jeannie.
Yeah. I mean, people like screaming in the grocery store because someone walks up and pinches their butt. So
Jeannie's a 7. That does you anything?
down for fun all the time.
Like you mentioned, Farron, physical touch isn't always about sex. It can be, but that's not, and maybe not necessarily even should always be the physical touch you're going for. It could be just touching them as you walk by, or it could be literally anything that deals with touch.
One of the first things that I loved about Jacob is he held my hand everywhere we went. Mm-hmm. And I feel like in high school it was that awkward, like, took a lot of guts to reach out or hold hands, or if you're holding hands, people are giving you a hard time. And so, no, he didn't care. He did it confidently, always grabbed my hand and held my hand across campus and all the things. So that's something I liked right away.
Yes, so with me and Morgan, there's certainly a height discrepancy. I would say you and Jacob are similar,
we're like the
heights.
same.
Morgan's a foot taller than I am, so like holding hands is weird. Or like if we're walking side by side, he has to slow down and I have to speed up. Or if he goes in for the kiss, I'm like up on my toes, and he's having to hunch over. So having to navigate that is also funny, but we make it work.
Yeah. So if this doesn't speak to you like we struggled through the gifts episode, I mean, we did well on the episode. We just struggled with the idea. I mean, there were some terrible segues, but that's just part of it. But again, equate this. You might not understand it, but without it, if this is your partner's love language, without it, they feel unloved.
Mm-hmm. Same thing with your kids. If this is their love language, like Scout right now, she's 4.5, but right now part of our wind down routine is we sit next to each other or lay next to each other for at least 5 minutes, and she wants to be right next to me, which is fine because I'm physical touch, so it doesn't bother me. But Scout or Rhett, they're okay not doing that.
Yep. So yes, you already touched on it, but this is not referring to just sexual intercourse, although that is a part of it. But and it's, I think, really important. He kind of touched on it, but based on people's previous experiences or traumas, physical touch can either be a good thing or a hostile thing. It can bring up like good feelings or bad feelings. And so there's just, again, knowing your partner and having some empathy and insight into that. So there's got to be good communication.
I'm going to interject on that too, as far as like if there has been past physical trauma. If you have not worked through that, go see a counselor, and they will help you work through that, because then it will be a game changer, especially if your love language is physical touch and you have had physical trauma. If you work through that, then it's going to be better after you have worked through that and you've communicated with your spouse. So keep that in mind. There's also, he talks about different types of touches take more intentionality. Like if I'm sitting here and like scratching Farron's back, that like I could be doing anything else. But if I have to like, massage her back, I'm going to have to really think about what I'm doing, as opposed to like play with your hair or whatever. There's going to have some of the tasks take more focus and more intention, and should take more focus and more intention.
Yeah, he describes those as explicit or implicit touches. So explicit, probably going to end in the bedroom. Implicit is,
if you're married,
a loving gesture. Y'all are cooking dinner, and he's got to go throw something in the trash and kisses the back of your neck on the way by, or something like that.
Yeah.
I do think, again, some conversations are, I don't know, I've been married how many years? Like 13 or something?
1 million.
I think it would still be kind of weird to be like, hey, babe, I like it if you would do this or kiss that or, I don't know.
Right. But I
need to be mature.
Yeah, or it's necessary. Wouldn't you want to know? Wouldn't you want, if that was their love language? It's the same rules have applied for all of the love languages. You need to talk about, do you want quality time, like as in we do something, or quality time as in we talk about something? Same thing goes here. Like what is making you feel most loved?
I feel like I'm pretty good at saying like don't. Like if he comes up to hug me, don't hug me around my belly, because that just, let's just pretend that that's not post-baby.
Six pack.
So he'll hug a little higher around the shoulders. So I'm good at expressing what not like.
And sometimes that's how you could communicate, especially if you're feeling awkward about it or you're not quite sure what to say. It helps to also give a non-example as well.
So he does suggest one thing in here, and I wish he would have talked a little bit more about communication, maybe it's just implied. But he suggests try new touches in new places and let your spouse give you feedback on whether they find it pleasurable. But this means this is in the context of when you're out and about. So try touching them somewhere while also in a different location. And so I just put in the margins, please ask your spouse ahead of time if they would be okay. Because some people really don't like PDA.
Yeah.
And they would be absolutely mortified. So just a word of caution there. If you're trying to get creative, proceed with caution.
For sure.
Lots of communication.
For sure. And it can even be as simple as legs touching when you're sitting watching a show. Which...
Can't do feet. Can't do my kids' feet.
See, that's a don't.
Don't put your feet on me. Don't. If Jacob, in the winter, if his feet are really cold, to tease me, he'll touch me with a foot.
And so instead of showing you love, it enrages you.
It's a double whammy. But he gets joy out of it. I don't know. It's complicated.
Maybe the gift to him is you can put your feet on me for 1
No
minute.
way. It's only fun if he doesn't have to do it.
The important thing
Or if
is
I don't want him to.
communication and feedback and honesty there. Or if you're not sure, say, I'm not sure. Maybe we can table it, talk about it later.
Yep.
Or a different time. So there was recently, I was having a moment in CG, but not publicly, privately. And Farron, you were with me, and Jacqueline was with me too. And she got to me before you did. And she was like, she did a great job of, do you want to be alone or by yourself? And I waved her on, as in, come on. And then she was like, are you a physical touch person? And then I nodded, so she gave me a hug. So she was with me, and she gave me a hug. So I was getting both of my love languages in 1 minute because she knew what to ask and how to ask it. So kudos to you.
Yes. That's a newer friendship.
Yeah.
And so it just goes to show that it doesn't have to be a super deep relationship or connection, that you can still show others love, even if it's,
For sure. And that's also the power of vulnerability, the power of community. I could have easily avoided that whole situation, but
give me a minute.
yeah. So that was really cool that both of y'all picked up on those cues, and then the covert operation of it was a funny story now, but
you got to do what you got to do.
Those are just really, hey, do you want to be alone? Do you want me to come with you? Because again, that gift of self, that might be come with me, but you don't have to. I just need your physical presence, or it could be come with me, but also give me a hug. I need those things too.
Yeah, he talks about not to give your experience a title, but he's talking about crisis and physical touch, and says in crisis more than anything, we just need to feel loved. And so one way to express love is through physical touch. And I know that I've seen different things where kids are coming down from behavior episodes where they're just going all out, throwing, a fit is how someone might describe it. But as they're coming down, they're just exhausted, and the power of a kind touch, just holding them around the shoulder. They even have things in schools where the kids can get in it like a sleeping bag, and it does
feels
some
like a
compressions. Yeah.
And when necessarily you can't hug or should not hug in that moment, that's a good example.
And some people do the weighted blankets and things like that.
Sure.
And so since I know that now, when my kids are hurt, what do you think? When you think about it, when your kid gets hurt, they run up to you and they curl up into you and they want it to be hugged.
Right.
And I'll even rub their back or things like that. So things with babies too, right? They want to be swaddled and hold them and bounce them. So physical touch isn't always just for pleasure, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But it can also help calm you, make you feel loved. It can make you feel safe. Again, it's knowing your audience for sure.
We also do this with our children when we discipline them. So we have a spot that we have them go to if we're in the house. We say, go to the stairs, and they'll sit on the stairs, and then we come and sit on the stairs next to them, and then we say the phrase, look and listen, and we offer our hands out, and they put their hands in our hands, and that's when we talk it through, holding hands the whole time, making eye contact intentionally, talking it through, and then always after the end of that, we ask if they want a hug, and Scout always says yes. They almost always, the other two always say yes too, just for reconciliation and feeling close. And that's that's helping them feel loved, especially in a hard moment where we had to discipline them. And sometimes it makes you sad too, because they're sad, you're sad. Let's just hug it out, and that helps too.
Yeah, that's a great example. One thing that he did, in one of the stories he shared, they talked about, the guy was adamant that he was all about physical touch because, he really enjoyed sex. And he said, but what if your wife talked ugly to you all the time and put you down and was berating and all the things? Would you still want to, have sex with her? And he's like, no, not really. And so it just helped the man put into perspective that, yeah, there's sex, this physical desire, but that love and an emotional need, right? Your love tank is an emotional need. How can we fill each other's tanks beyond just the physical? But again, for some people, that physical touch really does meet an emotional need.
Right. So that man ended up being words of affirmation, and his secondary love language was physical touch. So that really helped kind of figure out between the two. And we'll talk more about that in the next episode. I'm like, what if you're between two love languages? What do you pick? And we'll go through all that kind of stuff. So that's a really good example too.
And then on the flip side, a lot of times women, I don't want to say struggle, but maybe that's the right word, struggle with navigating sex and marriage because it's like they have to have their emotional needs met before they can go there physically. Whereas, I'm not saying all guys, but a lot of guys, they're ready to go,
Yeah. I mean, they're just built differently.
And he goes into the physiological, how your body responds, and they have different body parts and causes different reactions and things. So, if you want to learn more, it's in there.
In our CG, we have also gone through Aaron and Jamie Ivy's Complement series. It's a video series. There's a study guide, and we've been walking through that. And one of the chapters is about sex. And our group talked about how you should not weaponize it. It's not a thing that you should be withholding in a marriage. That does nothing but cause a detriment. And then later in the next episode, we'll talk about what if you cannot stand your spouse in this moment or in this season, and how to address it, and what do you do still. So we'll talk about that. So hang on for one more week if that's you, and make sure you come back.
All right. So do you want to do the your turn question?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So the your turn question that he has at each of the end of the chapters, again, really good talking points to kind of spur on those conversations. It says, recall some non-sexual touching times that enhanced intimacy between the two of you and what made those special. Because again, if you are in a situation where you're no, you can't just go do that thing. We're in public, or we're on a trip, or we're on a date out somewhere. You can't just do that. So what else could you do instead that still makes you feel connected?
Anytime I'm upset, Jacob will pull me in and hug me and hold me, and that always helps.
Yes, we've mentioned this probably in multiple podcast episodes. I tell Morgan I need a 30-second hug, and for 30 seconds he knows to stop, and that is the only thing we're going to do. If he wants to rub my back, cool, and then you can be goofy or do goofy other physical things after the 30 seconds, but I like the front to front, just really tight hug from him is super helpful. And there's a bunch of research and science backs this about how it releases all of the endorphins just because you're being held or hugging. So hug your people. Hug yourself. Get one of those little cocoon things if you don't like people.
Yes, agreed. Okay, so at the end, again, if physical touch is not your strength, but it is what your partner is looking for, there are some suggestions. So this one I also feel like you got to navigate carefully.
Yeah.
It talks about demonstrating touch to your spouse in front of other people. Again, that needs to be something that your partner's okay with in PDA. Yeah. And it's not anything over the top crazy. It could just be holding their hand if you're at dinner, maybe choosing to sit by them, or a quick kiss hello or goodbye if you're coming or going, staying at a family member's house. But
Yeah, they also give the example of when you sit together in church, you can reach out and hold their hand during a prayer time. I've seen couples when we're doing a worship part of the service, they'll touch the back of their spouse. You see it all the time. So be observant. You can look, if you run out of ideas, just kind of look around and see what's going on.
Yeah, that's actually one of the few times that me and Jacob get to sit by each other and hold each other instead of one of the kids. So during a lot of like the sermon and stuff, he'll have his arm around me, or I'll have my hand on his lap, kind of thing. So we take advantage of that time.
Yes, and if you have a spouse who travels or is deployed, anything like that, that's when you can also send those physical reminders too, like a handwritten letter they can actually hold, maybe spray some perfume on it that smells like you. It could be anything like that. So again, get creative if you're in a different circumstance or a season.
And then, too, it talks about, coming home, like you said, traveling, coming home or leaving. Me and Jacob always, kiss or hug each other, hello and goodbye. And so if you need kind of like a back to atomic habits, we mentioned this earlier in the series, because fulfilling these love languages for some people, is going to be creating new habits. So that can be your signal. Hey, I'm leaving the house. I'm going to go kiss them really quick.
Right.
And just peck on the lips, go. Or, hey, when I get home, I'm going to hug him, and then I'll go start dinner.
Right, and that's just an important rule of thumb that we have in our house is anytime you go or come, you say hello by name, have a conversation with those people. So I'll go up to each person in my house if I'm about to leave, like, bye, Rhett, love you, have a good time, hug, and go through each kid. And then I'll be like, bye, babe. And then if he's in the middle of something, he'll just yell, bye, back. Or I'll go find him and give him a kiss. So, again, just work with what's working. You got to talk about it.
For sure. All right.
Okay, so this next episode, next week, we're going to talk about what happens when you're not sure about your love language, or how do you love an unlovable person, or what does Jesus tell us to do in those moments. So make sure you stick around for next week, because that's how we're going to troubleshoot a lot of things and answer some frequently asked questions.
I love it. See you guys then. Bye.
We help hardworking Christian women get the growth they want by giving them the tools they need in order to have more joyful lives.
We love providing our Christian-based personal growth podcast to our listeners at no cost. If you are enjoying the content, please consider supporting our mission by donating to our Patreon.
We're a small team creating the show for our community by researching, recording, and producing the episodes ourselves. Any amount is greatly appreciated. Your support will help offset the cost of making and hosting the show.
As a thank you, you can receive exclusive access.
For more details on specific membership tiers, visit our Patreon page. Go to patreon.com/witty and gritty. We've included the link in the show notes.